Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope everyone is doing well. And can you guys hear me, see me? Please let me know. Can you guys hear me and see me? Because I don't want to go and get started and be speaking to myself. Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay, you can see and hear. Khalas. I think you guys know, alhamdulillah, mashallah, brothers and sisters in the back end. We're trying to get me into the YouTube page, but you guys know how YouTube works, that when you log in from a different device, it sends a code and so on and so forth. But alhamdulillah, we were about to go live on Facebook, and then they're able to figure out from the back end. May Allah bless them to work really quick. So now we're back on YouTube. MashaAllah. Hope everyone is doing well. My topic of today's session is reconnecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a rather broad topic, but inshallah we'll make it specific and hopefully beneficial and effective for all of us. Jazakallah khair for joining. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد النبي العالمين الذي اسمه مكتوبا في الإنجيل والتوراة أما بعد فقد قال الله عز وجل في كتابه العزيز بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن الناس من يشري نفسه ابتغاء مرضات الله والله رؤوف بالعباد وقال جل وعلا في مقام آخر رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم خصلتان من كانتا فيه كتبه الله شاكرا وصابرا من نظر في دينه إلى من هو فوقه فاقتدى به ومن نظر في دنياه إلى من هو دونه فحمد الله على ما أعطاه وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليه من والده وولده والناس أجمعين أو كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Your brothers, sisters, viewers and listeners, the greatest goal of our life is to be able to create a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The greatest goal of any relationship, and the ascension or the rise of any relationship is based on the foundation of communication. It's based on the foundation of being able to connect with one another, being able to speak to one another openly. They say that the most toxic relationships are the relationships where a person can't speak their mind, where they can't voice their opinions, where they can't say what they need to say or what they want to say. So the greatest goal of our life is to build on this relationship, which is the most essential one in our life. We have many dynamic relationships in life, right? And we call them dynamic because there's no handbook that comes for them. The relationship of a mother with her daughter and son, the relationship of a spouse with their spouse, a father with his children, a sibling with a sibling. Like, no one gives us a handbook when we have a nephew, or when we're blessed with a brother or a sister or a son or a daughter. It's a natural form of an innate mindset that we have that allows us to connect to those individuals and those people in our family or beyond that as well. And those are very important relationships, and we work towards catering them, nourishing them so that they can be beneficial relationships for us in our life. Your brothers and sisters, the most important relationship that we have in our life is the relationship that Allah has with me and that I have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is the relationship that Allah has with me? What does He think of me as? How does He think? Does He even think of me? And what type of relationship should I have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Hadith Qudsi, Ya ibn Adam, inni laka muhibba, that I truly love you. I truly love you. The relationship that Allah has with us is a relationship of love. Qul ya ibadi, a relationship of a very intimate relationship to that extent, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling towards us with saying, oh my blessed, beloved, close, near slaves. So this is how Allah thinks of us. This is Allah's relationship with us. Now, how should our relationship with Allah be? It should be reciprocal. That if Allah loves us, how can we love Him? So the first point is we're supposed to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is a goal of life, to love Allah. Now, how do we get there? That's the next point. There's a famous tale of in the history of the Mughal Empire where there was a king by the name of the Mahmud and Ayaz. Right? Ayaz was a king, Mahmud was a servant. And Ayaz, being this very rich and famous king of his time, was looking for a treasurer for his kingdom. And one day this slave popped into his palace, and his name was Mahmud. And over time, Ayaz got closer to him, and they started building a stronger relationship. And finally, he made him his treasurer of his entire kingdom. The family members were extremely irritated and annoyed by this because they expected that they would be the ones that would be chosen for such a high and prestige role of the kingdom. But he gave it to some random person that walked through the doors. And they would constantly pick at the king and say, he's the wrong person, he's not the right person to give it to, you shouldn't have given it to him, he's going to mess it up, he's going to cheat you, he's not going to be loyal to you. So they came to one day to Ayaz and they said, oh Ayaz, this guy Mahmud who you trust, we know that he's cheating you, and we know that he's lying to you. And he said, how do you know that? What's the proof behind this accusation? They said that in his room there's a cabinet, and nobody has the key to that cabinet except for him. And he goes inside of that cabinet every morning, and we think that's where he's hiding the gold or the wealth that he's stealing from you. So why does nobody have that key? So Ayaz says, okay, let me go ask him. And Ayaz goes to him and says, Mahmud, do you have a cabinet in your room that nobody has access to? He says, yes, I do. And he says, can I open the cabinet and see what's inside? What are you hiding in there? Of course you can, no problem. So he gives him the key. He opens this cabinet, or this locker you can call, and he sees a pair of old, ripped up, shabby clothes. Ripped up clothes that are shabby and they're patched up. Ayaz says, what is this? What are these clothes? And he responds by saying that, oh king, every single morning when I wake up, I open this closet and I walk inside and I put these clothes on my back and I look in the mirror and I tell myself, you were a person that walked inside of this palace with this pair of clothes, poor, ripped up, having absolutely no form of wealth in your life. This is who you are. Everything that you have now, these beautiful clothes that you wear, this prestige that you have been given, is because of Ayaz. And he trusts you. You best be sure that you never break that trust, or else you're going to end up like this again. So every single morning, I remind myself to make sure that I don't slip at any level of my trust. And Ayaz says, this is why I trusted you, and I know that you will make sure you never break my trust. This, number one, this is how we should also connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That, oh Allah, what am I without you? Well, what am I without you? Like, so what if I have dunya? So what if I have an education? So what if I have a family? All of that is going to end. And all of that comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a small story that I will share, and it's written in the books of history, that there was once a king who had a very large treasure. And one day he was touring his treasury, where his gold and his wealth was stored, and it was hoarded in a specific room that was locked up in high security vault. And he went inside one day, and as he was inside and counting his money and gloating over the money that he had, one of his ministers walked by, and he saw that the door was open, and he just closed the door. He locked the door. My father will share the story with us very often. He locked the door. And now the problem is that the only person that has the key to that vault is the king himself. And now he is locked inside, and he can't leave from the inside, because the only way you can come in is with that same key. So now he's stuck inside, right? And no one knows where the king is. The key is with him. No one knows, maybe the king has gone for a trip, maybe he's traveling. No one knew that he was inside the vault. He's inside the vault, and days pass by, and no one can find the king. And they don't think of maybe breaking open the vault. Just like, the king's probably gone out for a vacation, or maybe he went out and he got lost. He was hunting, and he got harmed and he died. So after some time, they assigned his son to become the king. And as was the norm, they would take a tour of the entire kingdom. And when they came to the vault, obviously not having the key, they decided to break open the vault. And when they broke open the vault, they saw that this king was lying helplessly in a room full of wealth and gold. And he had written with his own blood that I gathered and accumulated all of this money, but I realized at the time of death, none of this could benefit me. Like he said that I would be able, and I was in Arabic, so the words are shorter. I would substitute all of this wealth for just a sip of water, because it would keep me alive for a little longer. So wealth, education, family, these are all commodities that Allah has given us. In reality, we have nothing. Everything that Allah has given us is an amana. And the word amana comes from the root letters of aman, which means that Allah gave it to us, which means peace. In a simple translation of aman is peace. Allah has given us all of these things that we have so that we can live in a peaceful manner, where we can live in serenity and in happiness, and we're not struggling and anxious all the time. But Allah expects us to take care of it, because it's there to give us peace. It doesn't belong to us. So the first way that we see that a person can stay loyal to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to be able to completely understand that we are nothing without Allah. Ya ayyuhan nasu antumul fuqara'u ila Allah wallahu al-ghani. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "O humans, you are nothing, you are poor in the eyes of Allah. Allah is the one that is Allah is ghani, Allah is rich, Allah is wealthy, and Allah is the one that continues to take care of you." So to understand where we came from, that there are different signs of foolish people. One of the signs that he relates to us is بِئْسَ الْعَبْدُ عَبْدٌ عَطَى وَطَغَى وَنَسِيَ الْمُبْتَدَى وَالْمُنْتَهَى. That very unfortunate and foolish is the individual who has been given blessings, but he transgresses or she transgresses. And the reason of the reason why they transgressed is نَسِيَ الْمُبْتَدَى وَالْمُنْتَهَى. They forgot where they came from. They forgot the starting point. They forgot the fact that قُتِلَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا أَكْفَرَ مِنْ أَيِّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقَ مِنْ نُطْفَةٍ خَلَقَهُ فَقَدَّرَ. That what is wrong with the human being? Does he or she not recall that they were just a helpless toddler a few years ago? They were made from a clot of blood. They had nothing going for them. I gave them everything. Like how Mahmoud realized that he has to be loyal to Ayaz because Ayaz gave him everything. We have to realize that the first way to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to recognize the fact that everything we have is because of Allah. A child is able to connect to his mother because he or she realizes the amount of sacrifice and the amount of love the mother has for him or her. And he said, "Oh, my mother did this for me. Oh, she did that for me. Man, I love my mother." Well, Allah did everything for us. That demands some love from us. That demands some loyalty from us. Even a mother, a father would kick you out of the house if you would continuously and constantly, walk over the boundaries that they have set. At the age of 18, leave. Why are you still here for? And yet today, every single day, there is something that I'm doing that's crossing the boundaries that Allah has set for me. But the eyes can still see, the ears can still hear, the hands can still feel and touch, the brain can still reflect and think, the feet can still walk. All of this is because Allah loves us. Allah says, وَلَوْ يُؤَاخِذُ اللَّهُ النَّاسَ بِمَا كَسَبُوا مَا تَرَكَ عَلَى ظَهْرِهَا مِنْ دَابَةٍ. If I wanted, I could have held you accountable for every sin that you committed, and you and I would not have a single blessing left in our life. We will not have a single blessing left in our life. The fact that we can speak and hear, the fact that we can think, the fact that we can live and enjoy with our families is because Allah loves us. If Allah did not love us, He would take all of those things away from our life and we would be stuck with nothing. So to understand where we came from is essential to connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He knows us more than anyone else. You can't really boast and gloat to people who know you since you were kids. Like, oh, I know you since you were like 2 years old, or you since you were born. So okay, I got you. You don't. I'm not gonna act like I'm a sheikh or a mufti in front of you. You know me as a baby, right? We can't act like we're anything in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Well, Imam Sufyan al-Thawri rahimahullah says that the way to make dua to Allah is like a person that is drowning in an ocean. That the only way out is if you keep screaming. If you keep screaming and you don't stop screaming until someone saves you. And if you stop screaming, you'll drown. He says similarly, if we stop making dua in this manner, we'll drown within the ma'asiyah and the sins of this world. So that's the first story that he has with Mahmud and Ayaz. The second story is one day he gathers all of his ministers for breakfast, and he gives them each an apple. And he tells them to eat that apple. And as they start to eat that apple, everyone takes a bite and they spit it out. And when they spit it out, the only person that continued to eat it was this slave of his, which was Mahmud. And he says that, why did you not eat the apple? Or why did you eat the apple? Right? What made you go ahead and eat the apple? So the king's name was Mahmud and the slave's name is Ayaz. The king is Mahmud al-Ghaznawi. The slave is Ayaz. I'll correct that. So the king, Mahmud, says to Ayaz, why did you eat the apple? He says, because, O king, every single day you bless me with the best and the most delicious and luxurious types of foods. And I take it and you give it to me for free. One day you gave me a sour apple, so be it, I'll eat that as well. And what we take from that is, oh Allah, every single day you give me so much. If one day I don't get what I want, it's okay. You give me everything I want normally on an everyday basis. So what we take from that is a second way to connect to Allah is to be able to show gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the third story is where Mahmud called Ayaz and everyone else in his ministers, and he gave them a diamond. And he said, break the diamond, cut the diamond. However you can try to break it. Right? The person that came didn't even attempt to break it. Obviously, breaking a diamond is very difficult. They didn't even attempt to break it because they said, how can we break this precious diamond? This doesn't make sense. This thing is so valuable. Finally, Ayaz came around. And Ayaz, this genius, he comes and the king says, break the diamond. He grabs the diamond and he starts to try to break it with a hammer. He grabs different types of things to break this diamond, to crush this diamond. The king stops him and he says, oh, Ayaz, what are you doing? Why are you trying to break the diamond for? Why are you trying to cut the diamond for? He says, king, you told me to cut it. You told me to break it. He says, so what if I told you? It's a diamond. Why would you break it for? He said, oh, king, this is profound. This is very interesting. He says, oh, king, when you asked me to break the diamond, I had two options. Option number one, break the diamond and obey your command. Option number two, break your command and let the diamond be. O king, for me, your command is more valuable than any precious rock in the world. Your command and your request is more valuable than anything else. For in order for us to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if someone is offering us something and we're taking it, but it's compromising our deen, Allah is saying, why would you compromise your deen for? Why would you break this to get this? Because the command of Allah is more valuable than anything else. So to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we should understand that everything else is secondary. And the first thing we have to realize is that this command of Allah is more valuable than my family, is more valuable than my job, is more valuable than a few extra bucks that I'm earning, is more valuable than my friends. قُلْ إِنْ كَانَ آبَاؤُكُمْ وَأَبْنَاؤُكُمْ وَأَزْوَاجُكُمْ وَعَشِيرَتُكُمْ وَأَمْوَالٌ اقْتَرَفْتُمُوهَا وَتِجَارَةٌ تَخْشَوْنَ كَسَادَهَا وَمَسَاكِنَ تَرْضَوْنَهَا أَحَبَّ إِلَيْكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَجِهَادٍ فِي سَبِيلِهِ فَتَرَبَّصُوا حَتَّى يَأْتِيَ اللَّهُ بِأَمْرِهِ. Allah says in Surah Tawbah that if your family, your children, your fathers, your mothers, your wealth, your friends, if they're more beloved to you than Allah and His Rasul, then wait for your trials to begin. Wait for the hardships to pile up on each other. So the primary focus is to understand that the commandment of Allah is more important than anything else that's happening in my life. And I put that as my foundation of living my life. In order to make a decision, what does Allah want from me? In order to make, in order to go ahead and decide something, will Allah want this from me or not? So these are just three stories that we take from the relationship of a king of this world with a slave of that king, and we see how much this person showed his loyalty to Mahmud, this Ayaz, this slave, because he gave him something. So from that we understand that how much should the loyalty that we have be for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who did not just give us clothes and food, but rather gave us life and gave us iman. That loyalty should be at a different level. Now the question is, how do we connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? In the month of Ramadan, right, is not, it's a month of Quran, it's a month of fasting, it's a month of ibadah. But how Sufyan al-Thawri rahimahullah or Sufyan ibn Uyayna, where they mentioned that all of this is happening for one objective, and that objective is to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that objective is to recognize why I'm praying salat. Why am I fasting? I'm doing it so Allah is happy with me. So I'm, cautious about the purpose of my ibadah. And because I have this cognitive understanding, this rationale which is helping me do this, this proves to me that my mind and my heart is connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which brings me to the idea of how Imam Ghazali says that a person can only be connected to Allah if their heart is connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A dua that I was teaching in a Ramadan immersion program from Miftah, where Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min ilmin la yanfa' wa min qalbin la yakhsha'. Oh Allah, the Prophet ﷺ make this dua, oh Allah, I seek refuge from knowledge which does not benefit, and I seek refuge from a heart which is not humble, a heart which is not connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this was a quality of the munafiqun, that externally they were doing the things that believers were doing. They were also praying. Even though their prayer was different, they were lazy, they were showing off, but they were doing it. The difference was fi qulubihim marad. They had a sickness in their heart, and their hearts had been sealed off. So in order for us in Ramadan, everything we do in Ramadan is to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, how do I continue this? By my heart and connecting my heart to Allah. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah shares 5 things or 5 processes, right? With that allows us to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? 5 things that if we do, we're able to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first thing he says, and I hope everyone can remember this, inshallah ta'ala. The first thing that he says is, in order for you to be able to love Allah, you need to be able to communicate with Him. And what is our form of communication to Allah in this world? He says, Quran. Quran was sent down to bring life to a dead heart. Yeah, Imam Ghazali has, and I'll go on this tangent and we'll go back. Imam Ghazali, rahimahullah, he explains that, and I've mentioned this before as well, that a human body is created from 2 components, the physical aspect and the spiritual aspect. So you have the ruh and then you have the body, and these 2 things combined creates the human being. Because a person that doesn't have a ruh is not a human, he's a dead person, right? So, and he explains that our physical selves, our physical bodies are made from the earth. They're made from dirt. Min teen, ثم جعله من سلالة من ماء مهين. It starts from the dirt, the dirt and the mud being combined in صلصال من حمأ مسنون, which becomes hard and becomes clay. But it all started from dirt. And he explains that all of our physical needs are also fulfilled from the earth. Because it was created from the earth, all of the needs and the cravings that we have physically are also fulfilled from the earth. The food that we want, the nutrients that we want, the animals that we eat, the families that we enjoy with, all of that comes from the earth. So physically we can be extremely fulfilled by the limited blessings of the earth. But the second aspect of our creation is the ruh, the soul. And that came from above. قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي. It came from above. So just as the physical self is fulfilled by the things of the earth because it was created from there, the spiritual self will also be fulfilled by that which comes from above because it was also created from above. So in order for me to be fulfilled spiritually and to feel like I'm connected to Allah, I have to do those things that came from above. And one of those things that came from above was the Quran. الذي أنزل فيه القرآن إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر ولقد أنزلنا آيات بينات. This came from above, and it came so that we can communicate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and understand what Allah is saying to us. There's a very interesting parable that Ibn Ashur rahimullah, he shares in his tafsir, where he explains that water in wahi, water in the Quran are very similar. He says water gives light to a dead land. يُحْيِي الْأَرْضَ بَعْدَ مَوْتِهَا. It's a dead land that cannot grow crops. The life for that, the way that it comes back to life is through water, the rainwater. Similarly, he says, the way that a dead heart comes to life is through the Quran. Therefore, Allah only uses the word anzala for Quran and for water, generally, for Quran and for water, because they both play the same role where they bring something back to life. So Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah says that the first way we connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is by the recitation of the Quran, qira'atil Quran. And truthfully, this is a sign of a believer. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that one of the signs of a believer is that when the Quran is recited around them, their iman increases. Or when they recite the Quran, they feel that their iman increases. And you don't have to understand it, you just have to understand where it's coming from. It's coming from Allah. I share the stories at times where we had a classmate whose mother did not speak English at all, right? And this is when he first started to give talks and small video clips. This is back in 2007, 8, wallahu alam, if I recall correctly. And his mother, she would whatever she was doing, the living room, the kitchen, she would keep the recording of her son's talk on, right? Just keep it on. And when anyone would ask her, do you understand what he's saying? Like, no, I don't understand it. So why do you keep it on for? Because I enjoy hearing my son's voice, and it makes me happy that he's saying something which can benefit people. I know people are trying to benefit from it. So it just makes me happy. I just like hearing his voice. Right? While she was working, her Quran and her nasheed was her son giving that same talk over and over and over. It was only one talk. It was only one clip. And she would continue to play that same clip. She didn't understand it, but she felt connected because she understood what that person meant to her. It was her baby, her son. Similarly, it's not a must for us to understand the Quran in order for us to actually feel connected. We just have to understand where it's coming from. It's coming from Allah, who loves us. And now we sit down with that mindset of that when I open this Quran, Allah is speaking to me. Even if I don't understand it, I know Allah is speaking to me. That mindset has to be there. And there are so many stories of the Salafus Salihun that the moment they would recite Quran, how their hearts would shatter and they would be connected. There are stories of awliya. Ubaydullah ibn shared a very beautiful story of Imam Ghazali in the Ramadan immersion program, where when he left for 10 to 12 years and he came back to his role in the Nizamiya College of Iraq, and he started his talk, and he said, فَقَدْ قَالَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى فِي كِتَابِهِ الْعَزِيزِ. He didn't even say the ayah yet. Right when he said that, everyone started to cry. Right? Everyone started to cry. It was his sincerity, right? And in the Quran that he was reciting to them. So it's not about us understanding it, it's about us knowing where it's coming from and why it's coming to us. Right? Once the Prophet ﷺ, it's a very lengthy narration, I will try to summarize it. He says to the Sahabas that كيف بكم أيها الناس إذا طغى نساءكم وفسق شبانكم, that how will you live in this world when people will lose any form of loyalty for each other within spouses. Spouses will lose their loyalty for each other, and children will become disobedient to their parents. The Sahabas, upon hearing this, said, what? Can this ever happen? I don't think that can happen. That's not true. Right? Is that even possible? And the Prophet responded by saying, yes, it is. And something worse than that can happen. What can be worse than someone, losing their loyalty for their own spouse, and children becoming disobedient to their parents? This was a impossible thought for the Sahabas. The Prophet says, كيف بكم أيها الناس إذا تركتم الأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر. How will you survive in this world when you stop enjoining good and forbidding evil? Again, the Sahabas were perplexed and said, Ya Rasulullah, can this ever happen? And the Prophet said, yes, it can happen. Something worse than this can happen. What can be worse than this? كيف بكم أيها الناس إذا رأيتم المعروف منكرا والمنكر معروفا. That a time will come that people will look at good and perceive it to be evil, and they will look at evil and perceive it to be good. How will you live in this world at that time? So Sahabas being in the state of shock upon hearing these prophecies, Ali radiallahu anhu in a different narration, he asked the Prophet, Mal makhraj minha, that what is the way out? How do I get out of this? And the Prophet explained that the way out is Kitabullah, فيه خبر من كان قبلكم ونبأ من كان بعدكم وحكم ما بينكم هو الفصل ليس للهزل هو الفصل ليس بالهزل وهو الذي لا يشبه من العلماء ولا تزيغ به الأهواء ولم ينتهي الجن إذا سمعته أن قالوا إنا سمعنا قرآنا عجبا يهدي إلى الرشد فآمنا به هو حبل الله المتين وهو ذكر الحكيم وهو الصراط المستقيم من قال به صدقة ومن عمل به أجرا ومن دعا إليه هدي إلى صراط المستقيم. Said the Quran is all you need. It tells you about the stories of the past and it gives you prophecies of the future. This is that same Quran. If someone speaks with it, they are speaking the truth. Someone acts upon it, they will be rewarded. That's all you need in your life. Al-Quran hujjatul laka. The Quran will be a hujjah for us. So Ibn Qayyim says, وَالنُّورٌ لَكَ. In a different narration, the Prophet says, Quran is a nur for your life. So the first way we connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is through Quran. The second way that he mentions is fi mujalisat as-salihin, is sitting with pious people, sitting in pious companionship, righteous people around us. And we can find this in the Quran as well, where Allah says, فَدُخُلِي فِي عِبَادِي وَدُخُلِي جَنَّتِي. Surround yourself with good people that will allow you to enter into Jannah. There are many narrations which speak about the benefit of a pious or a righteous companion. Right? Al-maru ala dini khalidi falyanzur ahadukum man yukhalid. That a person is on the religion of his friend. Be careful who you befriend in this world. And the Prophet explained that a friend should have three qualities. That number one, إذا ذكركم الله رؤيته, that when you see them, they remind you of Allah. Number three, وذكركم بالآخرة عمله, that when you see them living their life and doing their a'mal, they remind you of the akhirah. So this is the three qualities of a friend in a righteous companion. The second way of connecting is through good companionship. The third way of connecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he mentions, is through continual dhikr. قعودا قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم. That these are individuals that remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while they're sitting, standing, and while they're laying down. Now this does not mean that we're always in the state of dhikr, but it means that everything that we do, we start it with dhikr. Before we eat, we make the dua of eating. When we finish eating, we make the dua of finishing our completion of our meal. When we walk into the washroom, we read the dua. When we leave the restroom, we read the dua. When we walk into the house, we read the dua. When we leave the house, we read the dua. So every single point of our life, right, there's a dua for those things. And if we read the dua, it is as if we were in dhikr the entire time. Where a person that goes to sleep and reads the dua and he wakes up and recites the dua, it's as if he was in ibadah or she was in ibadah the entire night. So being in dhikr at all times doesn't necessarily mean that I'm always doing dhikr, because that's practically impossible, because you may be speaking to someone, you may be completing your assignment, whatever it may be. What it means is that when you start an act, start it with the prescribed dua. And if we don't know the prescribed dua, dear brothers and sisters, just start it with the name of Allah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The most virtuous thing in the world is reciting the Quran. And that as well, we're told to recite Bismillah when we start. So anything which is other than that, we should start it with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet says, كُلُّ أَمْرٍ لَمْ يُبْدَأْ بِإِسْمِ اللَّهِ فَهُوَ أَقْطَعْ. Anything which does not begin with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is deficient, it is not complete. So number three, being in the form of dhikr, in the state of dhikr, right? And I explained that happens by remembering the du'as of those things that I'm doing, or just saying the name of Allah before we start. This connects us to Allah. Imagine every single time we eat, we're saying Bismillah. When we finish, we're saying Alhamdulillah. This shows that there is a connection of Allah in my heart, or else how would I remember to do it? Generally what happens is I don't remember to do it, I forgot. But it should be a part of our routine. The same way, does someone forget to eat? Does someone forget to eat iftar? Does someone forget to, someone that enjoys playing sports, they don't forget to play sports when they have to play sports. They don't forget to hang out with their friends. They don't forget to watch whatever they want to watch. We can't just forget this. This should be a part of our DNA in our day, that we have to prescribe those du'as in the times that the Prophet has taught us to prescribe them with. That's number 3. Number 4, he says that loving for Allah, loving things that Allah loves for us, and disliking things that Allah dislikes. What that means is man ahabba lillahi wa abghadha lillah, that you love someone or you love something because of the fact that Allah loves it, and you dislike something or you dislike someone because Allah dislikes it. فقد استكمل إيمانه. The Prophet says من أحب لله وأبغض لله وأعطى لله ومنع لله فقد استكمل إيمانه, that whosoever loves for the sake of Allah, dislikes for the sake of Allah, gives for the sake of Allah, receives for the sake of Allah, if someone does these 4 things, their iman has been complete. So for example, I want this. This is something that I desire I really, really want this, but I don't do it because Allah doesn't want it for me to Allah does not like that for me and Allah doesn't want me to do that. That's a sign of me being connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And quickly, the last point that he shares is to be able to stand up for tahajjud and nawafil. Not necessarily tahajjud, any form of nawafil. Fard is something that we have to do. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that there's nothing that brings a slave closer to me than his fard prayer. And وَمَا زَالَ يَتَقَرَّبَ إِلَيَّ عَبْدِي بِالنَّوَافِلِ. And the slave continues to get near to me through his optional prayers. That shows that connection through optional prayers. حتى أكون سمعه الذي يسمع به وبصره الذي يبصر به, until I become the sight that he sees with, in the ears that he hears with, in the hands that he touches with. This does not mean that na'udhu billah, we're touching with the hands of Allah or seeing with the eyes of Allah. What it means is that what we do with our hands will be that which Allah is pleased with. What we do with what we see with our eyes will be that which Allah is pleased with. And what we listen to with our ears will be that which Allah is pleased with. So this happens through nawafil. So 5 things, I'll say them again. Number 1, reciting the Quran. Number 2, being in righteous companionship, having a good surrounding around us of people that can help. Number 3, right, is trying to leave that which Allah does not like and do that which Allah does like, which Allah is pleased with. Number 4 is always being in the state of dhikr, right? Always. And I explained that means that doing the right dua, reading the du'as at the right times, or just saying the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will suffice. And number 5 was praying optional prayers. Whatever time of the day that we can do it, and we're in Ramadan, so it's even easier. These 5 things we can do with ease in this month. All of these 5 things. Right? Of course, we don't have the concept of companionship this year in the month of Ramadan, but this is companionship, right? Spending your time in the middle of your day and with people that are listening to the bounties and the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is righteous companionship. But reading Quran is easier in the month of Ramadan. It's a month of Quran. Doing dhikr is far more easier because we're in the state of being conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Praying nawafil is easier because we have taraweeh anyways, and then praying tahajjud is also easier in that sense. So these are things that it's easier for us to complete in the month of Ramadan, and I urge everyone to start these 5 things in their life, even at small dosages. أَحَبُّ الْأَعْمَالِ إِلَّهِ أَدْوَمُهَا وَإِنْ قَلَّ, that the most beloved acts to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the ones that are done with consistency, may they be very few in number or in quantity. But Allah loves that. So start with these 5 things, and this will directly connect us to Allah. We have Quran in our life. We're reading our du'as at the right time. We're loving things because Allah wants us to love them. We're sitting with people that are beneficial to us. We're praying optional prayers at whatever level we can. 2 rakats a day, 4 rakats a day. It doesn't have to be an excessive amount. This will connect us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah bless you all. Jazakallah khair, sister, for sharing it. And may Allah bless you. I miss a lot of you. Mashallah, a lot of you I know. And I miss all of you. It's been a while since we met. But inshallah, we'll see you soon when this stuff ends. May Allah bless everyone, give us the ability to act upon this, and give us the ability to convey to those that are not present, and connect ourselves through Allah through these 5 things, and understand that, recognizing how the story of Mahmud and Ayaz was, that he understood where his beginning was. So because of that, he was able to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should also know where this all started from. I wasn't always like this. There was a point where I was weak and unable to even lift my own hand. And Allah allowed me to become who I am now. Jazakallah khair for joining. May Allah bless you. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Any questions? Or are we good? Anyone have any questions? No, mashallah, but we've been doing qiyams and sessions for youth of Ummah for quite a bit, and alhamdulillah, every time we come, we enjoy um, being in those gatherings, and normally we end them off with some questions. So if no one has any questions, inshallah, if you're getting hungry and waiting for iftar and you just want to relax now, then that makes sense too. Jazakallah khair for joining, everyone. May Allah bless you all. Of course. Jazakallah khair. Is there a specific dua that we can read after nafils, after optional prayers? I think the dua that we're supposed to recite after salat, right after salat, is the same dua that we should recite for optional prayers, which is right after we finish salat, we're supposed to say astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah 3 times, and then we're supposed to recite this specific dua, which is Allahumma anta salam, Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam, tabarakta ya dal jalali wal ikram. Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam, tabarakta ya dal jalali wal ikram. I'll say it again. Allah, if someone can share it. Rehan, I see you every day, okay? I'm always available, inshallah. We're not busy. Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam, tabarakta ya dal jalali wal ikram. If Saeed, if Rubab or Rubai, any of you can share it in the text, that would be awesome. But that's the dua that we're taught to recite after fard prayers. So that's something that I would do for nawafil as well. There's Brother Fazal, this is my Saturday. I didn't know I was gonna have such a schedule on Saturday. I had 3 talks I had 1 talk for Al-Maghrib in the morning. They woke me up at 10 a.m. when we sleep at 6 a.m. right? And then alhamdulillah, it was awesome. What Brother Umar, she was an Amira of Al-Maghrib in the past, but holistic medicine, and then now I have this beautiful youth of Ummah. Out of topic, but can I go back to the big Quran from reading in the beginning? I'm not sure if I understand that question. If you're asking, can I read the Quran from the beginning, then yes, of course you can, right? Other ways to battle against the parts of our heart which is coming from shaitan, right? There's not a part of shaitan in our heart. This is a discussion of theology. Like, shaitan is not a part of our heart. Shaitan flows in our blood, right? But what we understand from the Quran is that the only person that has access towards our heart is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. في قلوبهم مرض فزادهم الله مرضا, right? ختم الله على قلوبهم. So Allah is the one that closes off their hearts, or Allah is the one that increases their hearts in sickness. The reason why this is interesting is because shaitan cannot access our heart. Allah says about shaitan, الَّذِي يُوَسْوِسُ فِي صُدُورِ النَّاسِ. He can access our chest, and the only way that he comes in is like the example they give for this is, when a person wants to come inside your house, they knock on the door, you open the door, they come inside your house. They can't walk inside your house without permission. Shaitan also, he's able to get into our sadr, which is our chest. He can get into the premises of our house, of the boundaries of our house, and he starts knocking on the door. And the only way he can come inside the house is if we open up that door, and then he comes in and he takes over the entire house. So what are ways we can battle that? And I shared these few things yesterday in my talk, where I said that one of the ways that we can battle it is similar to what I mentioned today, qira'atul Quran, reading the Quran, because shaitan runs away when Quran is being recited, right? Number 2, I also spoke about khila'ul batn, like not overly eating and overfilling up you're overfilling your stomach, because when you overeat, you overfilled your physical desires, so now your spiritual desires are very limited. Your spiritual needs are very limited. The more we take care of ourselves, we take care of our desires physically, the less our spiritual needs are demanding something, right? And the more we take care of ourselves spiritually, the less our physical needs will demand from us. How else was it possible for the Prophet ﷺ to eat so less? Because spiritually he was refining himself. We hear the stories about people who would survive off limited food and limited access towards any form of drinks. How is that possible? Because spiritually they were at such a high that their physical bodies were ignored. Not ignored in the manner that they weren't being taken care of, but they did not crave things that were not necessities in their life, right? So khila'ul batn, leaving your stomach empty, the 1/3 option, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, eating 1/3 is I mean, in Ramadan it's hard because we're hungry the whole day. That's why in Ramadan it's easier to do good, because when we're not filling up ourselves physically, so our body needs to demand something from us, so it starts demanding spiritual things from us. So doing a'mal in Ramadan becomes easier. And definitely making dua. The Prophet would make that dua. The reason why he made the dua was because shaitan can affect us, right? اللهم إني أعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع ومن قلب لا يخشع. It's a dua that we should actually make. The dua that I just shared right now, and I just taught it yesterday in my Ramadan immersion program. I'm pretty sure the lecture is still on Crowdcast. You can see on our website. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع ومن قلب لا يخشع. Allah, protect us from this heart which loses its light, right? And the Prophet explains that the quickest way that a heart becomes dark is through sins, and the quickest way that a heart gains light is through istighfar, through repentance. I was in the middle of the Quran from starting Ramadan, but I didn't know if I should continue or just start from the beginning. What I would do is whatever you have read, that's perfectly fine. Finish it and then read the first 15 as well. So you get the entire Quran completed. If you're planning to complete it. If you're not planning to complete it, then there's no reason why you shouldn't continue. If you're planning to complete the entire Quran, then finish it from the part where you started, and then whatever's left, you catch it up near the end of the month. So that the dua is a dua that I just shared right now. Maybe someone can also share that dua. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min ilmin la yanfa' wa min qalbin la yakhsha'. A heart that does not have fear, it does not have humility in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even though we can't be there physically, I still enjoy being here. I recognize a lot of the names, and I hope that we can see each other soon. Jazakallah khair. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.